For fledgling small businesses, often the most dangerous period is the first year. It's then that they are most vulnerable and likely to go under. As a boost for small business in the region, the Hunter Enterprise Centre was established. Located in Woolsheds in Hannell Street, the centre provides office space and a supportive environment for people going into business. The centre is now up and running and 4 business ventures have moved in. Today, Bill Closey, who's had considerable experience with incubator spaces in Ireland and Western Australia, was in Newcastle to share his expertise. He's looked over the Newcastle Enterprise Centre and says it's moving along very nicely.
I was particularly impressed when one considers that there is no immediate source of inspiration. In other words, the people here in Newcastle are actually working from scratch, and they don't have any model really to style on. So I was quite impressed that most of the, if not all of the critical features seem to be either in place or about to be put in place. So I will be quite confident it will do quite well.
The International Challenge began on Monday and finished today. The Australian and New Zealand teams each have 12 players, as well as a number of others to assist. Blind bowls is divided into 3 categories from partial to totally blind, taking to the greens today with the mixed 4s. Don't think there is a drop in standard. Norm Hunter of Murrayville in Victoria is his club singles champ, competing against players with normal sight. Australia is the world's leading blind bowls nation and was the driving force behind the setting up of the New Zealand Association. Australia was too good for the fledgling Kiwis, winning the Flett Daniels Trans-Tasman Cup. On hand at the test were the 2 people behind the friendly rivalry, John Flett and Lila Daniels. The Trans-Tasman Cup is contested every 2 years. No doubt the New Zealanders will be putting in the extra hours of practice in a bid to win it next time.
Good afternoon, I'm Belinda Borisov. Tonight in the news we'll be reporting on the discovery of human remains at the Campion Deo Reserve near Catherine Hill Bay. Police say a Swansea couple made the discovery while walking through sand dunes.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Good afternoon, I'm Ross Hampton. Today a prelude to Anzac Day in Civic Park, Newcastle. Lower Hunter's schoolchildren came to the park today for a commemorative service run by them.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
On the Winfield Cup Premiership table, the Steelers have 7 points to Newcastle's 4. Last week, the Knights were given a lesson by North Sydney, which won by the embarrassing margin of 40 points to 6. The South Coast team holds a special place in Newcastle's evolution. In a pre-season game at Toronto, the Knights scored their first win, thrashing Illawarra 34-2. The only change to the Newcastle team, which went down to Norths last week, is Tony Townsend. He replaces the injured Michael Reid. The only kink in the Knights' armour will be the backs. McMahon is sticking with the same combination which allowed their Norths counterparts in for 8 tries last Sunday. Despite this, the Knights must be in with a good chance, despite being given a start of 1.5 points on the footy tab. They'll be playing on their home turf, which always brings the best out of the locals. Another plus is that Illawarra is yet to win away from home. However, the Steelers are taking no chances. They'll arrive here tomorrow to be fresh for Sunday's encounter.
tonight we'll bring you a story on a new lead in the hunt for the person that murdered Mayfield pensioner Riley Doring. Police say someone used a key card belonging to Doring after his brutally bashed body was found in Webb Park at Mayfield.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Newcastle Conservatorium of Music has given the public its first official glimpse of the new $5 million performance hall. The inspection has impressed ABC Radio, who've promised 4 celebrity concerts broadcast live across Australia to coincide with the opening.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Conservatorium Performance Complex has changed but little to the passer-by over the last few months. However, inside, dramatic improvements are taking place. Architect John Carr invited guests on a tour of the building today. The Art Deco hall with modern influence is already a striking building, though clearly far from completion. The focus of the hall will be a new neoclassical organ being constructed in Melbourne. The theatre will give Newcastle a new prominence in the music world, and already the ABC is committed to a series of 4 concerts in the Conservatorium to be broadcast live across Australia. The collaboration is significant since the ABC's budget restraints have forced it to cancel its country concerts. However, the quality of the hall has resulted in a change of policy.
It's a perfect recital venue for about 400 or 500 people, and there aren't enough of those sort of venues around in this country.
Conservatorium Principal Michael Dudman is one of Australia's foremost concert organists and could well be one of the ABC's guest artists. However, he says the complex is for all the people of the Hunter.
It's a facility for the Conservatorium, but it's also a music hall for Newcastle and for the Hunter Valley, and we want it to be as widely used as we can.
Clinical trials allow doctors treating women for breast cancer to keep in touch with each other and medical breakthroughs in the field. Trials ensure a uniform standard of treatment is observed. At worst, a woman will receive the most popular treatment. At best, she may be offered a new treatment that's just been perfected. Dr. Carsten Rose says every woman in Denmark being treated for breast cancer automatically takes part in a clinical trial. They have a correspondingly higher success and survival rate. In the Hunter, clinical trials have also been set up, but in other Australian centres this is not necessarily the case. Instead, a doctor who has treated breast cancer perhaps only 3 or 4 times in his career may determine what treatment a woman should undergo.
I don't think it is possible, with what I have seen in Australia, that she would be mistreated. But I find it possible that she would be treated with an obsolete treatment in terms of there are other centres where treatment would be much more optimal, much more efficient.
Dr. Rose says women undergoing breast cancer treatment should insist upon taking part in a clinical trial.
Train going through this house at the moment, down in the back on the...
Yeah, hold on, if it's a DC, Jackery, go ahead.
I hate walking.
Yesterday's freak storm hit the cities inner western suburbs, causing chaos on the roads, partially submerging dozens of homes.
All Mackay furniture and fridges and freezers and everything, besides what's in stereo, and we haven't had time and still too upset over it.
Several main roads became impassable, motorists abandoned their vehicles and police were called in to supervise recovery operations.
What's the plan? How do you get these vehicles out?
If we can get the air, then we've got plenty of volunteers with winches and stuff like that to get them out.
Last night the torrential rain continued, this time swinging to the south. The deluge swamped overworked storm drains, turning streets into streams. Shop owners spent a sleepless night trying to salvage their stores. Concerned residents watched the water level rise. Some were evacuated along with their pets.
Come on, mate.
Today, more rain is forecast and the State Emergency Service is keeping a careful watch on river levels.
For some time now, the National Safety Council has been promoting the use of safety helmets for cyclists of all ages. Last week, Safety Council representatives went to a primary school, a high school and a bicycle track to see if people accepted the need for safety gear. Of the adults observed on the bicycle track, only 8% wore helmets. At the primary school, only 20% of the children had helmets, and of those, only 1 in 5 actually wore them. At the high school, not one single student was seen to wear a helmet. Just how dangerous can it be not to wear a helmet?
Well, it can range everything from a fatality, which would be unusual, through to minor injuries. But such things as broken bones, concussion and so on are not unusual in falls from bicycles.
He says the survey results are very disappointing. He says there are up to 30% more accidents involving bicycles and pedestrians in wet weather. And while children should accept the need for safety gear, parents should also encourage their children to wear it.
Takes the tap.
East's first try came less than 10 minutes into the game as McClay on the burst gave hooker David Truella the chance he was looking for.
And he's caught only 4 or 5 metres from the line. Truella from dummy half reaches out and scores the try.
East's already dominating possession were also quick to spot the gaps.
Worth spotted the gap. Worth's gone straight through it. He's got Melrose with him. Away to McLean. McLean scores a fine Eastern Suburbs try. A fine unselfish try, that one too.
The Knights played desperate and exciting football in an attempt to put points on the board.
Now for Stewart, swivels out of the tackle. Can he get it down? Annesley's right on the spot. But
finally, Tony Kemp, with help from Doyle, virtually willed a try.
Right on the line, surely. From dummy half, Kemp. That's a try.
In a critical moment, Knights winger Brian Quinton saw a last-minute chance to even the score.
They've got the numbers. Quinton, he's going for the corner. Morris is there.
But East still had one final gesture.
Plenty of chasers. East's come up with it. Trouble now for Newcastle as Gilmister barges over underneath the post.
I had no doubt that McGahn was well and truly offside when that kick went up.
2 at 24.4 metres in length has been built using all the latest in design, construction and equipment. Constructed in Sydney for Rod Muir, nothing has been spared to make the yacht the very best to show the world what Australia is capable of producing. Some of the innovations include the 35-metre mast, which is the tallest, lightest and features the smallest section ever used in a Maxi. Another space-age feature is the hull made of carbon fibre. It's half the weight of any existing Maxi, yet is stronger.
There's nothing exceptionally new on the boat. We've just taken everything to the limit. If you see the boom, the lightest boom in the world up to this point is, for Maxi boats, is 400 and something pounds, 450 pounds. This boom is 280 pounds. So we've broken a few barriers in design and technological aspects. Primarily weight is what we've chased.
After today's launch, the yacht headed back to Sydney for more trials before being shipped to Hawaii for the Kenwood Cup in June. After that, it's on to the Big Boat Series in San Francisco, then back to Australia for the bicentenary Sydney to Hobart. Muir says Windward Passage 2 has been built specifically to win this year's Sydney to Hobart, although he is confident his vessel, complete with 1988 sail number, can win the US regattas as well.
We think we can do it, but I think confidence isn't something that wins a sporting event. It's you need everything going right for you, and remember that we have the equivalent of 2 football teams and 27 people on board. And you put those people through stress conditions over 3 days of racing, management and harmony becomes a whole new endeavour.
Battle in around that one particular area. Getting shut out the gate.
The proposition that's been put to us by the coal company.
We held prior to the settlement of the said negotiated agreement. That's the motion.
Dairy Farmers Co-op factories service milk producers from Lismore to Albury. With an estimated value of $80 million and an annual turnover of $260 million, the co-op is an attractive business, regularly returning dividends to its 7,500 shareholders. The co-op is such an attractive prospect that the giant food company, Canfider, targeted it for takeover, beginning the war of the wets and the dries. In dairy co-op language, a wet shareholder is one who actually produces milk, while a dry is one who doesn't. The board of the dairy farmers believes control of the co-op should remain in the hands of the wet producers. The state government agrees, and last year introduced legislation requiring all dries to hand in their shares before October this year. That started months of arguments, offers and legal battles. Under the government legislation, the co-op is required to purchase the shares of its dries back at $2 a share. Knowing this, Canfider offered $5, a proposal many dries were willing to accept. The company received options on 624,000 shares, although it could not actually make the purchase as the Board of Dairy Farmers refused to register them. Undaunted, Canfider made a second bid and secured options on a further 1.5 million shares, which, if it was allowed to buy, would give it 33% of the co-op. Canfider then embarked on an advertising campaign to delay a dairy farmers' vote on the legislation. A shareholders' meeting scheduled for March was adjourned after an appeal against it, and the company took dairy farmers to court in an attempt to stop a second meeting held last Friday. 2 days before that meeting, the New South Wales Supreme Court dismissed the case, leaving the way open for dairy farmers. Several hundred producers travelled to Newcastle to go through the formalities for a predictable result. Under the government guidelines for implementing the changes, only wets could vote. They overwhelmingly axed the dries. The meeting passed a motion defining wets as those who supplied at least 200 litres of milk to the co-op in a 7-day period. The meeting also agreed to include dries who supplied at least $500,000 worth of goods used by the co-op each year. Many dry shareholders were angry at the result, claiming their shares were worth closer to $12 than the $2 they will now receive. General Manager of Dairy Farmers Don Kinnersley, however, was making no apologies.
A member of a golf club pays a membership fee, perhaps he takes out debentures. When he gives up golf and leaves the club, they don't carve off a couple of acres of the golf club and sell it for him to return to him what he sees as his interest in the club. And the cooperative is the same thing. The share in a cooperative is a fee for membership in the cooperative, and to enable that member to get the benefit which the cooperative provides.
Mr Kinnersley also defended the inclusion of the material suppliers in the co-op.
That section is in fact to ensure that the cooperative complies with the section of the Taxation Act, which requires the cooperative to do 90% of its business with its members.
And so is this the fight over, or just about a one?
Well, somebody said it was round 3. Nobody has told me how long the fight is, though. I'm not sure whether it's an 8-round or a 12-round fight.
The General Manager of Panfighter, Jeff Giuradini, was uncommittal about his company's future actions. He would only say that Panfighter was still determined to have a voice in the New South Wales dairy industry. Meanwhile, many dairy farmers are claiming last week's result as a victory. Rowan Moore, Senior Vice President of the New South Wales Dairy Farmers Association, says he would like to see the same situation statewide. The executive of the DFA has endorsed a motion calling for the amalgamation of all dairy co-ops in the state.
Certainly I'm all for a single cooperative in New South Wales, because today we've only got 2,000 dairy farmers over the whole of the state, and the movement of milk can be done a lot easier if we had a single cooperative, and also in the distribution mechanism that we could develop through that cooperative structure. We can service the consumer through the supermarkets or the vendor or whatever much better than we're doing at present.
The executive will recommend the proposal be adopted at the annual DFA conference to be held in Sydney on the 18th and 19th of this month. Good afternoon, I'm Ross Hampton. An unusual form of drama returns to Newcastle soon. The 2 till 5 Youth Theatre 1988 season of theatre sports commences on Sunday.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Good afternoon, I'm Ross Hampton. Tonight, a report on the space shuttle being built not in the USA, but in Newcastle. The shuttle is due to be completed for shipment to Japan at the end of the week.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
A showdown is looming in the mining industry. Unionists have rejected a BHP plan to transfer its own employees to West Wallsend No. 2 when it purchases the pit from Coal and Allied. Miners want the award to apply and cavilled out workers re-employed first. BHP will now apply to the Minister for Resources to close down its Pacific and Stockton borehole collieries.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.